It feels like it's been too long since we have said this since, God, mid-January, but college football is officially back on our TVs, and it's actually going to matter once again. Welcome into the Sports Wave Network. Welcome into Saturday Football Kickoff. I am your host, Ian McClintock, joined by my two fantastic co-hosts for the season. From the East Coast, we got Coach Gante, and from the West Coast, representing San Jose State, Mr. AC.
I'm representing. Okay, yeah.
Hey, I'm representing the Midwest I'm in here in my Denver stuff. We got to represent the East, the West, the Midwest. We got to have everybody covered here.
Hey, you got a basketball. It's a football show.
I could go put on one of my jerseys, but I don't think anybody wants to see that while we on here live right now. So,
we talk about them college CU Buffs, huh?
PG-13.
Hey, the Buffs. We got one more week until we go get throttled in Fort Worth. Okay, we all know it's coming.
I ain't hard to find.
Our offense is going to be a little bit more interesting trying to find up here. You 84 transfers, 53 of them on 53. It's a whole culture change. Dion was honest when he said that everybody is going to change. I'm bringing in my Louis. If you don't like it, you can get out. And a lot of people said that they didn't like it. So, but it's going to be fun to see. Everybody's been having to fight for their numbers out here. So, but it'll still be fun. I'm still excited. Are we going to get to 6-6? I hope. But, I wouldn't be surprised if we only go maybe 4-8 too. Just trying to get caught up and get into the grind. It's year one of prime time. So, but Key hopping in the chat already saying hello, and to everybody else watching, hello back.
What's good, Key?
So, hope they're good. But yeah, obviously it's been about 8 months since we've done this, which means it's been 8 months since college football's really done anything. So, we've had chaos. We've had back-to-back champs winning by 58 in a natty, even though they only win by 1 in the semi. We had the feel-good story of TCU.
Did you really think TCU was going to do something in the championship game? Honestly.
I didn't think so. I didn't think they would.
I thought it was going to be closer than what we got.
I did think it would be a little bit better than that. That was a preseason drubbing, man.
That was a scrimmage, wasn't it? That was
That's dang on JV. Everybody that had it, like them guys, lucky they still got drafted. Them TCU players was like, hey, y'all got exposed, man. This is a different level up here.
Yeah, Quentin Johnson could only do so much from the receiver position. Credit to Max Duggan. He took his beating from essentially NFL light defense that was the Georgia Bulldogs. But then you have teams like Tulane coming out of nowhere, going from 2-10 all the way up to 10-2, winning the Cotton Bowl the way that they did by 1 point over USC. God, you had to love it one way or another.
That warms, as a Bruin, that warms my soul.
Hey, I know. AC, you had to love that, man.
Man, mid-major. Oh yeah, we love that.
That defense was historically bad in USC. Oh my goodness, man! Tajay Spears.
Yeah, that was exposure. I'm gonna go to Lincoln Riley practice. They don't even do defense. It's just all offensive 7-on-7. They don't even do inside run period. It's all passing. Pass. You can play some defense, coach? Nah, we good. How about
we don't need no defense. We don't need to play defense.
How about punting? You don't punt. We going for it.
What is a punt? Jesus.
What's that? On Madden, if it's not 4th and 3, what are we doing?
Running it.
If it's anything 4th and 3, we passing it.
They say we don't just outscore you. We ain't gonna play no defense. We'll just outscore you. Hope we get a stop. You
gotta stop us. It's a 10-yard fight. Whoever got the ball last.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it almost felt that way with the entire Pac-12, whether it was Oregon or even Utah doing what they did, coming out with their Pac-12 championship, and potentially the last season of Pac-12 football is coming up now. Like, what? I mean, I would have thought one of the mid-majors was going to go down, but now it's one of the Power Five. Like, and
who would have ever thought, man? Conference USA survive longer than the Pac-12. Yeah. I mean, the big sky.
Yeah. Well, for a while, the talk of the town was that the Big 12 was going to be the one to implode, with Texas and Oklahoma getting ready to ship off to the SEC, and all they did was reload with 7 new teams, 4 of them starting this season.
Oil money, man. Oil money.
So,
deep pockets.
Hey, that oil money be good money, apparently.
Good money.
Hell, it's enough to bring in Colorado. It's enough to bring in BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, the Arizona.
Johnny Manziel.
Oh, don't even get me started about that. How much did you put on your iPad?
Johnny Manziel.
Dude, I was going to say, if y'all have not seen that Untold, it is worth it. Especially that one, because I watched the Swamp Kings one.
It's
First
okay.
2 episodes were great. Yeah. The last 2 felt like fluff. Like they left out a lot.
They let Urban Meyer off the hook. They let that Joker slide as a feel-good story.
Yes,
I said, nah. I said, it didn't end that great. I was like, I feel asleep. I'm going to have to go back and write some notes. I said, y'all left off some good stuff. And he turned a blind eye.
I mean, shoot, we didn't even get a single word about the Pouncey boys. We didn't get nothing about Urban Meyer's supposed heart attack to get out. We got
Cam Newton getting paid.
Shoot, like I wanted all the behind the scenes stuff, and how much did Tim Tebow actually know about the behind the scenes stuff?
Yeah, I was like, Tim Tebow, you were mentoring Aaron Hernandez. You went to one of them killings. You actually saw the murder and had to pray for him.
Damn.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, my friend Aaron, he's going through some things. I just want to stay in his corner, make sure he's okay. I got some street stuff going on. That's not who he is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, you know,
if you're gonna do it, Doc,
working out.
It felt like The Last Dance. Like Michael Jordan produced it. Like Urban Meyer produced this one. I'm gonna clean my name up so I can get back in the coaching game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what we also kind of get with the whole writer's strike, but that's for a whole different conversation. I'm trying to keep it college football here. But again, 8 months, we got to shake some things out. Let's just get it out of our systems. But, I mean, I would say probably the other really good feel-good story up until he tore his ACL was probably Hendon Hooker, the quarterback out of Tennessee. Just being able to lead Tennessee to finally getting back to number 1 status for the first time since the Manning days. And then for it just to end the way that it did. Just, I don't know. I hope that he actually gets a shot in the NFL. I really do.
He will.
I think he will.
They're not going to throw him in there like Anthony Richardson. He should have some time to get right.
Well, I mean, when Anthony Richardson's even shocked that he's getting the start in Indy.
That's all bad. They're going to lose every single game.
I just think it ain't. I just think for them it ain't much competition behind Anthony Richardson. I don't think it's really much competition. Gardner Minshew. Are you really kidding me? But I don't think it's much competition behind.
But it's still
mustache mania.
Yeah.
I'm wondering though, with the lack of success for Trey Lance and guys like that, why wait? If he's a project, let's find out now. And it's kind of like, it's like, well, he's not going to be successful unless he's some kind of phenom, because Peyton Manning threw 100 picks his first year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy, man. I mean, you see, guys are going to struggle, man. The speed is that much different in the league. And, you hear that play call in your head and then you're on your own. Like, it is over with.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, is that a lot of people think like, oh, they played in the SEC, they're going to transition great. No, they still have to get used to playing grown men, not just 18 to 21-year-olds. No, we're talking grown, upper 20, low 30, very much in their prime. of
Mm-hmm.
your lifetime, how athletically fit you are going to be, it is a completely different ball game, a completely different speed. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what throws me off is when people are like, oh, could Georgia beat like Arizona last season? Hell no.
Mm-hmm.
Hell no. There's no way that you could ever see that happen. I mean, for a while, I know they did the All-Star game between like the national champs and some NFL players, but that stopped like
It's
what,
still
80 years ago.
there will still be rookies. Like how many rookies are all pro?
Exactly.
Not
Very.
too many of them.
I mean, the last all pro true rookie was what, Lawrence Taylor? Like I don't know,
Something close, yeah.
something like that. Reggie White, somebody crazy, like the all time best ever at their position, maybe. But you
Yeah.
got a whole roster of like Kylie Ringo and them. You know, they fighting for roster spots.
Mm-hmm.
And be honest, it ain't looking good for Kelly Ringo though right now. It ain't looking good for him right now.
The kid Eli Ricks is gonna take his spot. They
Yep,
they both on the Eagles, right?
yep,
And,
yep. Kelly Ringo get put in the torture chamber right now. He's in that torture chamber right now.
yeah.
The
Amen.
Philadelphia Bulldogs getting back at it again.
You know I'm an Eagle. Hey, we flying and woofing.
Hey, see, I know you've been hearing about that, huh?
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's just good drafting. That's just smart. That's just smart business.
Yeah.
How everybody let Jalen Carter fall to number 9?
That's what I said. That's what I said.
Great. Perfect.
He's a bad person.
Oh, yeah, he's such a bad person.
His character is a flaw.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, is there a little bit of something that needs to be spread regarding that incident that night after the national championship? Sure. But to have him fall all the way to 9 when we all know he was a top 5 prospect, it feels very weird. But hey, they're those 8 other teams are like, yeah, sure, Philly, yeah, let's give them more defense. Let's let them reload. They just made the Super Bowl. They deserve
man,
it, right?
we got Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, and Davis from last year. I said we straight for 5 years, baby. We straight.
Yep.
And we get Eli Ricks for nothing, and he gonna play.
Yeah. And here pretty soon, y'all got to pay Jalen, and
Hey, he ain't gonna be hard to find. I'll pay that man. He's serious about his.
Yeah.
It'd be different if he was immature. But the cat went through a Saban benching, sat a year, gravitates to Lincoln Riley's program in Oklahoma, becomes a quarterback prospect, which he was not in Alabama. He was going to be a game manager at Alabama. Becomes an NFL prospect, becomes a solid NFL prospect, takes Carson Wentz's job, and goes to the Super Bowl in year 2. We're way ahead of schedule. If this kid just stays healthy, if they don't outlaw the quarterback sneak, we great for about 5 good ones. So I'm happy. I'm a happy Eagles fan right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I think Houston might be one of the happier teams as well, pulling, C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr. in back-to-back picks.
Can't beat that.
I mean,
Can't beat
that's hard.
Hey, I can tell y'all something on this one though. Like, ain't no way in heck that D'Amico Ryans was leaving that draft without Will Anderson. He loved him some Will Anderson, man. Ain't no way in heck he was leaving. He loved. I will tell you this. He liked the C.J. Stroud, but he loved the Will Anderson actually more when he first met him. So it only made right, and it only made right to say, hey, they did the right thing. Get your quarterback, because ain't no way where you can go into the season with Davis Mills and Case Keenum as your quarterback group.
Sure you can.
I know you can, but ain't nowhere in the world they were ever going to do that. But then, he said, hey, we got to go up and get my guy, man. We got to go up and get my guy. They did. They went up and got him. And Will Anderson looked great, man. That dude looked great in the preseason, man.
He's a grown man. He's a grown
that dude,
man.
Yeah, yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Yeah. I mean, Houston picking 2 and 3, and there's a very good chance that this upcoming season we're going to see 1 and 2 go to Arizona. We could see Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. on the same team. Like that if that doesn't scare you in the NFL, I don't know what will, because those two talents, whether it be Williams or May or knowing Arizona, they'll probably screw it up and pick some kid out of a mid-major and you know,
well,
and see Arizona away.
Word on the street here in LA is the Rams going to try to make something happen to get Caleb. Because that's right up the block, and he's going to sell tickets. So if they can make that happen, they will, even if they have to fork over some money to the Cardinals.
For sure. So
I ain't gonna. Hey, I trade up in a heartbeat. Would I trade up in a heartbeat if I'm in the top 10 to get Marvin Harrison? Oh yeah. Hey, I'm doing that in a heartbeat. You ain't even gotta ask me that.
Absolutely.
I'm trading with a heartbeat.
Of all the receivers' kids that's playing, Jerry Rice included, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yep.
Is him.
So, but obviously week 0 officially starts here in about 4 hours with the game over in Dublin, Ireland, between the Navy midshipmen and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So we're actually going to take a quick break, and then when we get back, we're going to dive right into it, and we'll talk some Navy and Notre Dame football. We'll be right back. Hang tight.
Come on. We will win. Yes, sir. Because we will hit all game. Yes, sir. We are motivated. Yes, sir. We are dedicated. Yes, sir. Come on now. Yes, come on now. Yes. We will win. Because we are the best on the field. And we hit the field like all day light, all night light, on the blue light, offense light, defense light, his squad light, house call light, and it sound light, and it sound light, and it sound light.
Hey Nate, how's life? I don't know. It's all right. I've been dealing with some things like every human being and really didn't sleep much last night. I'm sorry. That's fine. I just think I need a little me time. I just think I need a little free time. A little break from the shows and the bus rides. Yeah. Last year I had a breakdown. Thoughts telling me I'm lost, getting too loud. Had to see a therapist and I found out something funny's going on up in my house. Yeah, started thinking maybe I should move out. You know, pack my car, take a new route. Clean up my yard, get the noose out. Hang up my heart, let it air out. I've been searching. What does that mean, Nate? I've been learning. Grabbing my keepsakes, leaving my burdens. Well, I brought a few with me. I'm not perfect. Looking at the view like this concerns me. Picking up the cues right, I'm quite nervous. Hating when I lose sight, life gets blurry and things might hurt me. It's probably gonna be a long journey, but it's worth it though. Cold world out there, kids, grab your coats. Been a minute, I know, now I'm back to Rome. Looking for the antidote to crack the code. Pretty vivid, I admit it, I'm in classic mode. Don't need pity given to me, but I can't condone. Talking down to me, I'ma have to crack your nose for cracking jokes. I'm looking for the map, the hope, you see me? Been making a whole lot of changes. Wrote a song about that, you should play it. I get scared when I walk on these stages. I look at the crowd and see so many faces. Yeah, that's when I start to get anxious. That's when my thoughts can be dangerous. That's when I put on my makeup and drown in self-hatred. Forget what I'm saying and where the beat go? Oh, ain't that something? Drums came in, you ain't see that coming. Hands on my head, can't tell me nothing. Got a taste of the fame, it'll pump my stomach. Throw it back up like I don't want it. Wipe my face, clean up my vomit. OCD trying to push my buttons. I said don't touch it. Now y'all done it. I can be critical, never typical. Intricate with every syllable, I'm a criminal. Intimate but never political, pretty visual. Even if you hate it, I make you feel like you're in it though. You call me what you want, but never call me forgettable. Leave you deep in thought, I can never swim in the kiddie pool. Waited, I've been thinking the cinematic is beautiful. Man, I don't know if I'm making movies or music videos. Yeah, the sales can rise, doesn't mean much though when you're helping.
From 40,
See, we've all got
on the way, a knuckleball.
We try to suffocate, you know.
He got it!
Try to hold it in the water, but it always survives. And it comes up out of nowhere like an evil surprise.
Slips out and then he goes touched. Oh my goodness! You are kidding me!
Way. It's pretty cool, right? Yeah, but it's not always safe. Just hang with me. This will only take a moment, okay? Just think about it for a second. If you look at your face every day when you get up and think you'll never be great, you'll never be great. Not because you're not, but the hate will always find a way to cut you up and murder your faith. I can develop and take a look at the benefits. Nothing to meddle with, I can never be delicate. My own way, send out the picture you mess with me. Take a measurement to back it up and give me the evidence. Pretty evident. Dependable can never be taken. I'm a gentleman, depending on the person you're genuine. Pretty elegant, but not afraid to tell you to get it. Grip proper etiquette. I keep it to myself when I celebrate. It's that time again. Better grab your balloons and invite your friends. Seatbelts back on, yeah, strap them in. Look at me, everybody, I'm smiling big. On a run like Jonathan, can't predict. Tell me tone that down, but I can't resist. Y'all know that sound, better raise your fist. The surf begins, I'm back, so enjoy the trip.
Man, I missed it. Man, I missed Dates. Welcome back to Saturday Morning Kickoff here on the Sports Wave Network. I know that we got a couple other comments coming in. Everybody's saying, hey, what's up? Obviously, this is our first episode. But obviously, before we left, the big question was thoughts on the Notre Dame Navy game today. Obviously, that game's going to be kicking off at 2:30 Eastern on NBC. It's the official kickoff to the 2023 season. Sam Hartman officially comes over from Wake Forest, the all-time leader in ACC passing touchdowns. Tyler Buckner leaves for Alabama. So what exactly should Notre Dame fans expect this season?
Well, you should expect the same Notre Dame that you saw last year, competitive Notre Dame squad who's going to be very talented. But again, I'm still not satisfied in Notre Dame as well. I don't think they're going to be one of the top 4 teams in the country. Again, I'm going to believe that they're going to lose a couple games like they do every year that they don't supposed to be even losing. So other than that, I think they're going to have a solid season. I think they will make a New Year's Six bowl game. I think Sam Hartman is going to have a solid season. I like Coach Freeman. I think their defense is going to be competitive. Offensive side of the ball definitely got some talent there, but I'm expecting the same Notre Dame that I have been seeing for the last couple of years. Just lose games that you don't supposed to lose. Like you're going now, no shame in losing against Ohio State last year. Ohio State was a top 4 team last year in the country. They went to the college football playoffs and should have beat Georgia. Actually, should have beat Georgia until Noah Ruggles missed that field goal. That they should have beat Georgia. But you come back and you have a stinker versus Marshall. You have a stinker versus the Thunder and her at home on your home field. Those are the type of games you have to avoid losing. Those are the type of games you have to avoid losing. So I expect them to have a solid season. They're going to win 10 games, but they're going to be I think they're going to be a New Year's Six Bowl team this year.
Is that enough? Like, how long are we going to let Notre Dame ride the wave of the historical Newt Rockney or whatever the history of Notre Dame is? Like, how long do we have to be subjected to Notre Dame being that team that we expect to be America's team of college football? I mean, they got their own network. They're on NBC by themselves, and they got all the resources in the world. Coach Freeman is there as a Band-Aid in my guesstimation because he's there to clean things up. And they're, like Coach Dante said, they're a 10-win game. They're kind of like when Jim Moore was at UCLA. We're going to win 10 games. Is that good enough? How much longer do we have to watch? And then opening up with Navy, I mean, in Dublin, Ireland, like, okay, but this feels like such an exhibition money grab, exposure grab. Like, Notre Dame doesn't need any more exposure. Everybody knows about Notre Dame football, and everybody, pulls for the Navy because, America. But I'm not so geeked up about this game as a lot of people might be. I could really care less. I expect Notre Dame to beat these dudes by 25. But the triple option is always hard to prepare for. I hate it. I think it's a peewee offense, but that's just neither here nor there. Like Coach Dante said, 10 games for Notre Dame, but it's going to be the quietest 10 games, the most irrelevant 10 games, because they're not going to beat the big squads. They're going to continue to, get to the big game and not have those 5-star, 4-star kids that are highly recruited that go to Notre Dame over the Ohio States, over the Georgias, over the Clemsons. They're just not getting those kids anymore. It's no longer like it used to be. When I got my first letter from Notre Dame, that was huge to me. This is the early 90s. This isn't like 90, 91. I got a letter from, who was the coach? Was it Lou Holtz? And it was just kind of like, my mom's like, you ain't going to Indiana. And I was like, I'm not. But the idea that Notre Dame it just lost its luster, man. So not to be hating on Notre Dame like that. And my buddy loves Notre Dame. I'm like, bruh, it's kind of like the Cowboys being the America's team. No, they weren't. The Patriots took that in the early 2000s, and now it's somebody else. Like, everybody's like, I know people in Dallas want the Cowboys to be the number one team, America's team, but America got they fan bases now. We don't have to, you know, do what they say. Same thing happened with Notre Dame. So, I'm over it. They might be 10-game winning team, but I don't think anybody really cares that much anymore.
Yeah. And I wonder if that reflects here in the preseason rankings because obviously last season they started at number 5 and we all said it last season that felt like a complete oversight and obviously Notre Dame proved us to be right, but with all these different losses and with their inability to close out games that they should have, is Notre Dame starting at 13 the right spot for them? Or should they be ranked lower? Or do you guys, in your opinions, think that maybe they might be a little bit underrated?
I think all preseason polls that's all it is. Like, we won't know until we see them line it up, and then you won't know until they line up against a good team. Like preseason rankings and preseason All Americans, all this stuff is speculation, man. We don't know until they line them up. That's the beauty of the game. Like, I think Chris Berman said it best. That's why they play the game, because we don't know. We hoping, but I think they're about right. 13 is just about right. We don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's about right. Like I said, I always said, Notre Dame is the most fraudulent team in college football. Like fraudulent, literally most fraudulent team in college football. They don't. To me, I think NC State, that game is going to be hard for them. That game is not going to be easier for them. But outside of that, they don't play. They don't play anybody to Ohio State. So they have to play Ohio State. Outside of NC State, which I think that could be a tough game and an upset alert type of ball game right there in NC State. They don't play another good team until they play Ohio State. They don't play another good team. Like today, they should, like AC said, they should win this game by 25 versus Navy. But of course, the option is hard to stop, especially when you're doing it the whole game. It continues to wear you down on the defensive side of the ball every time you run it. It's an annoying offense. It is an annoying offense they'll have to go against. But you play Navy, you got another scrimmage. You got another should-be scrimmage against Tennessee State. You have Central Michigan, who you should be able to beat at home. But after that, you play Ohio State. The actual real test, I would say, is Ohio State. They don't play anybody to Ohio State. But I think the NC State game could be very much interesting in NC State. But they don't play anybody to Ohio State till they first play Ohio State. So again, I think they're the most fraudulent team in college football. I always said that, but I think they're going to win 10 games. They're going to, like I said, they're going to win 10 games. They're going to get to a New Year's Six bowl game. But if that's good enough to a team like Notre Dame, no, it's not.
Sure. Yeah. And like you guys said, Notre Dame currently, and I really don't expect this number to move at all, 20.5 is officially the spread today over in Dublin. And I'm kind of with you guys on that in the fact that Notre Dame, it doesn't really feel like they will be tested, except for maybe NC State on September 9th.
Yes.
And then Ohio State September 23rd. And then they get a little bit of a break, and then they bring in the Fight On Trojans there October 14th. So I could definitely see 2 losses, even 3 potentially, with Clemson coming early in November as well. So, but Notre Dame, it definitely feels like y'all are always the team of show me something and show me it quick, because otherwise the country will turn on you, even though the fans probably already have. So, but there's still a lot of turnover there. And then not only that, with Navy, they also have a new head coach in their defensive coordinator, I believe it's Freeman, even though I know that there's a Freeman coaching Notre Dame as well. So, but it's Newberry. Coach Newberry is taking over the Navy side. So I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of expecting it to be a triple option game, but at the same time, a new head coach, we could see something completely different. But then again, we could see the same Navy team that lost to Delaware 14-7 in their home opener last season. So it's one of the great unknowns with Navy. You never know what you're going to get. And kind of with what you said, AC, the teams that run this triple option, your Navies, your Armies, your Georgia Techs, Is it a little bit peewee? Yeah, but when you get it running right, it still can't be stopped to this day.
And that's why they're still running. But it's really a gimmick. It's a gimmick offense, and even when you get dudes, when Georgia Tech had Calvin Johnson, they still ran it, but they found a way to get in the ball 3 or 4 times a game, which made it a little bit more exciting. But I think they're doing some of the kids a disservice who might have the skill set to play in the next level. They're not going to have that type of, background running that Pee Wee offense.
True. And then, we hear, the feel good stories of, say, like a Keenan Reynolds getting the pass to finally get his shot at the NFL. We just aren't seeing that a lot in these service academies, even though personally I think there's a lot of talent just kind of waiting there, but they know what they're signing up for when they go to the academies. They know. So, but I know that we don't get you for too much longer because I know you do the high school coaching thing. I know you guys got to go watch some film, but there's that team on your sweater there, sir. San Jose State. And, I mean, there might be a little bit of bias here. You want to tell the people what's going on with that, or?
All right, man, real quick, because I got to get to these meetings in a few minutes. Kids walking by looking at me crazy, like, Coach, you ain't coming to meetings. I'm coming in a minute. San Jose State plays USC. My son last year earned a scholarship to go play at San Jose State. He's redshirted, so he's not playing, but I'm still a proud dad. And so we are pulling for the San Jose Spartans to cover this 31-point spread that they got SC favorite to drub and run the score up on our boys. But I think we got a couple of good-looking kids at certain spots that could make it interesting. So I don't think it will be as ugly as the odds makers are making out to look. I think it will be closer than that. However, it could go bad real quick. It could be 60-15 or something crazy like that. But Lincoln Riley wants to score points. They wanted Caleb Williams to win the Heisman again, so they're going to have to put up numbers every week. And I think this is a good opportunity. We have a very young squad at San Jose State. But again, key guys and key players at certain spots. We got transfers in from UCLA, transfers in from Nevada. So we got some kids that can play. And not going to be specific, but let's just see this again. First game out, you don't know what you got till you got, in the trenches in the second quarter. What's happening? Are we getting ran? Are we getting pushed back? Offensive line able to hold up? Is our D line able to hold up? Knowing that Ed's not going to run the football, we have a chance because if we make plays on the ball in the air, it's passing league, and anybody knows if you throw the ball enough, and your defense is not stout, you're going to be in track meets every week. So there's a chance, there's a chance that anything can happen. We've seen all the Appalachian State's first game below upset. So anything can happen. I'm pulling for an upset. We're going to go to the game tonight. I'm going to go to these meetings right now. My son is in the building. So if we can get him on the air before the show is out, just to talk to a college football player and how they prepared, that might be a good segment for our show. But I'll be back in a little bit, man. I got to go check in with these kids, make sure we're right for next week. But I'll be right back in a little bit.
All right. Sounds good, man. We'll catch you here in a little bit, man.
All right.
So that is our guy, AC, Mr. Anthony Cobbs, holding it down out there on the West Coast. And like you said, hopefully we'll see him back. I think it'd be really cool if we do get to talk to his son, because that's not something that, a lot of shows get to afford to do. But, I mean, Dante, I think that AC put it best. 31-point spread. It's USC. A lot of teams have their finger on the pulse with this team, potentially, especially with this being their last season in the Pac-12. A lot of hope is on SC to potentially make the college football playoff for the first time. And not only that, obviously, we all know the Caleb Williams story, potentially going back-to-back with this Heisman.
Yep. Like I said, man, I think I agree. My only thing that concerns me is USC's defense, man. Their defense, they so conventional and wanted to score points. Now, if you decide to get in the track meet with them, you're not winning the track meet. The only team that was able to do that was Utah. You got to have a very good team like a Utah that knows how to get a stop when necessary. You've seen Pratt and you've seen Tajay Spears. You've seen them was able to go toe to toe with USC and get a couple of stops. They embarrass USC on the ground. They embarrass USC on the ground really, really bad. So their defense won't be world beaters, but they're going to put up a lot of points on the board. And if you can score in any, no matter where you're playing at in a type of league, if you can score, you're going to always win games or be in games if you can score. It's just a matter in college. You got to be able to play some good defense. You got to be able to get a stop when you need it. USC has not been able to do that. Now, again, San Jose State, if they can score and come out running the football and slow the game down, I think they have an opportunity to keep the game a little bit more closer. But I don't see San Jose State winning this game, especially at USC. I think USC is going to score by like 48 points. I think you can be 48. I'm going to go 48-21. 48-21 USC over San Jose State. I believe San Jose State is going to keep it closer within the first 2 quarters, and I believe they're going to wear down at the in the second half, and I believe you're going to see USC start putting their foot down on them. So I will say 48-21 USC.
So you actually think San Jose State's going to cover, huh?
Yeah, I actually think they can score 21 points. I actually think USC's defense is really bad, and I think if San Jose State can get 21 on, I think that's a plus for them. That's a win. That's probably a win for them if they get 21 points on USC. So I'm gonna say 48-21 USC win.
Yeah, and I'm in full agreement. I do think USC boat races them. As much as I would love to support San Jose State, knowing that our guy goes there, but I mean, it's hard to deny what USC can do on offense.
Yeah.
And then not only that, I mean, everybody's worried about the USC defense. They did have a couple really big transfers come in. Keon Barr comes over from Arizona. He was a pretty big, solid piece for them. You had the ex-Georgia lineman and Bear Alexander coming over as well. You have Mason Cobb coming over from Oklahoma State as well. So, I mean, you're definitely getting some big names.
Yeah.
As far as, can they come in? But like everybody's saying, can they produce? And I think if USC has any shot of getting to the college football playoff as a member of the Pac-12, they have to play some defense at this point.
They have to, I believe. But I believe they have to play some defense. I believe they toughest games. Actually, they tough. Notre Dame, going to Notre Dame, that will be tough. Going to Notre Dame, they can be formidable. That's a big game for USC right there. You also have Utah, Utah got their number. Utah has USC number. They beat them twice last year. Utah is the one that knocked them out of the championship rankings. The first loss, if they didn't beat USC, if USC would have won that Pac-12 title game, I think you would have saw USC in the college football playoff instead of Ohio State. I don't think that first loss. I don't think people can knock them for the first loss. It was a close game. They lost in Utah. They lost a tough game on the road in Utah. But the problem is they lost the conference championship. So that would knock them up out of the college football playoffs and got Ohio State up in that spot. But other than that, if you can beat Utah and this game is gonna be at USC. It's gonna be at the Coliseum at USC. But I still think Utah got everybody coming back as well. They did lose Clark Phillips. They did lose him to the NFL. But you got Bailey coming back. You have Cam Rising coming back. I think you have Tavion Thomas coming back. You have Quentin Jackson coming back. They got some guys coming back on that offensive side of the ball. That defense is going to be solid. Got a great head coach on that team. So that game is going to be the biggest game for USC right there. Figure out a way to beat Utah. You're going to have Washington. I think they can beat Washington. Washington is also ranked number 10. I like their receivers, Duzane. I like their receivers, Duzane and McClellan. I like those guys. Those guys are very good wide receivers. Y'all haven't watched those guys play football last year. Those guys are really good. The running back is solid. Then, of course, you got Bo Nix in Oregon. And you got to go to Oregon and play Oregon. So they got some tough games on the schedule right here. They got some tough games, but I believe if they want to make the playoff, I think you got to get past Utah. I think Utah right now is the boat in the front runners of the Pac-12 right now.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think that game on October 21st really is going to determine, you know, is the Pac 12 even going to have a college football playoff contender?
Yeah,
Because the way I see it, if both teams get into that game undefeated, we all know all eyes are going to be on Southern California that
yeah,
game. And then whoever wins that, you have to hope that they win the conference championship at this point. If the Pac 12 has any kind of hope
yep,
to get into the college football playoff, because, I mean, you look at the top of the rankings, it's Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama. There's a very good chance all four of those teams run their regular season gauntlet until week 12 or week 13 when
yep.
Michigan and Ohio State inevitably play against each other. And then conference championship Saturday, we could see two 12-0 teams in Georgia and Alabama going at it. So I feel no matter what, whoever comes out of the Pac 12 has to be undefeated.
Yeah.
That is the only way that you get in.
You're not going to be a 2-loss team in the Pac-12 and expect to make it to a college football playoff. I don't believe that. I don't believe that can happen. I believe you could get away with one. I believe you can only get away with one. That's the possibility. Get away with one. USC would have got away with one if they would have won a conference title. They would have got away with that one loss in Utah. If they would end up beating them in the Pac-12 championship, they would have got in there. They would have got in there, but you would not make it with two losses. Especially it does depends on who you lost to as well, and how do you lose to them. You saw that with Hendon Hooker last year in South Carolina. They wasn't winning the game anyway. Even when Hendon Hooker was in the game, they wasn't winning the game anyway. They were already down big. Their defense couldn't stop anybody. But by him being hurt, the team just flat fell apart right after he got hurt. They went on to lose the next week as well. I believe they went on to get beaten the next week as well. But that game right there put them out of the playoff picture. That game right there, losing that game and how they lost it, put Tennessee up out of the picture.
Yeah. And to be fair, I mean, USC, it's not like they're avoiding any teams either. It's just very backloaded.
Yep.
Because out the gate, it's San Jose State today, and then it's Nevada, Stanford, Arizona State. And then personally, I'm going to be there September 30th when USC comes to Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah.
I have to be there to see Deion Sanders against Caleb Williams. I got to see it. Are we going to get boat raced? Abso-flippin-lutely. But the way I see it, I also think that Caleb Williams is probably the closest bet to a back-to-back Heisman that I have probably seen in my lifetime.
You don't even give Colorado a chance in that game. You don't even give Colorado a bus.
Unless I see something amazing happen in these first three games against TCU, Nebraska, and Colorado State, I have to go with what I've seen compared to what I haven't.
Gotcha.
So that's why I said, for the Buffs, I'd be happy with 4 wins. I really feel that we need to beat Nebraska. We need to beat Colorado State. And I think during the season, there might be a couple of teams in the Pac-12 where we're major underdogs and, we pull out upsets. Maybe, like a UCLA or an Oregon State or something like that. But
yeah.
I think it's asking way too much to be like, oh yeah, they're going to go 9-3, but they're only going to lose to Utah, Oregon, and USC. No, we have to prove our worth.
Yep.
And I think that's what a lot of fans here for the Buffs have to keep in mind is that, yes, we have Deion Sanders. Yes, we have the Sanders boys at quarterback and at safety, but we have to see it work. And until we actually see it on the field, it's going to be hard to say. Now, give it a season and then we get to the Big 12, I'm going to start feeling a little bit better. I will personally feel a lot better. But in this season, I think we've said it enough. It's going to be USC or Utah.
Yeah.
With due respect to Washington and Oregon, Washington, they just lost their starting running back for the season. I've seen a lot of people be very high on the Washington Huskies, but with losing a piece like that, I'm not sure if Michael Penix Jr. can do enough to keep his team in it. I just don't see them having as much talent as Utah or as much as SC does. Oregon, cool, you have Bo Nix, do something with it.
Yep.
Oregon will sit there, probably be 10-2, 9-3 team, but then you have Oregon State who comes up and smacks you in the mouth last season.
Yeah. Oregon State, I liked that their defense. Their defense was very disciplined last year. Their defense was probably the best defense in the Pac-12, the best defense in the Pac-12. Oregon State could be a little tough for anybody. You remember they almost beat USC last year. Mm-hmm. They almost beat USC. I think they should have beat USC. And I believe that was USC's toughest game last year, toughest actually game that they won last year. So Oregon State, if they can slow the game down and make you play at their pace, they have a good chance. They have a very good chance. But if DJU can be consistent, my goodness, he'd been god awful at Clemson, and he was probably the reason why Clemson wasn't really actual as good as they were, because he was just so bad. Hope Cade Klubnik can do something with Clemson. He shows some good signs, but if DJU wasn't really that so bad versus in Clemson, I believe Clemson would have been a lot more different than what you expect. But just because he was so bad, that offense was inconsistent. Basically, he was the inconsistent one. So maybe a change transferring to Oregon State maybe will help him when they're going to run the ball a lot, and that you're planning to get, like I said, one of the best defenses in the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really been one of the big transfer stories of this last season has been DJ Uiagalelei going to Corvallis when everybody thought that, he might end up being a Duck. He ended up being a Beaver instead. So I think him seeing Tyler Buchner move from Notre Dame down to Alabama, I think that was a pretty big move as well. So I don't know. This transfer portal's got me a little bit messed up trying to keep up with everybody. Yeah. I can't even lie.
Yeah. Got word on the street that even though Tyler Buchner, did transfer, but again, you may see Jalen Miro start the first game. Jalen Miro will be the starting quarterback the first game. We already know how Nick Saban. This is the first time, I really seen Nick Saban so frustrated after that spring game at the quarterback situation to the point he had to go out and get the quarterback, and he got Tyler Buchner. But that's good that Jalen Miro got really better since he came in. But it's still a quarterback competition. It's still a quarterback competition there. I think you're gonna see Nick Saban start Miro, then you're gonna see Simpson come in. Then you're gonna see Miro start the next game. You're gonna see Simpson come in too. He always does that when he's not feeling so good about quarterback. He did that, I believe, with Coker. And then before Coker finally took over that starting job, finally found some consistency and took over that starting job. I think you can see that two quarterback system alternate throughout the first 2 weeks, and then he's gonna make a decision who he's gonna roll with for the starters for the rest of the season.
Yeah. And this is probably the first time in a very long time that we've really had to worry about Alabama and their quarterback situation.
Yes.
Probably the first time since Saban took over in 08-09. And obviously that wasn't his prospects, but ever since that it has been his prospects. We've seen Tua Tagovailoa, we've seen Jalen Hurts, we've seen Mac Jones, we've seen AJ McCarron, and he's had success with all of them. And I think you put it right on the head. We haven't seen Coach Saban be this almost uncertain with that one position for the first time in a very long time. So, yep. And, when I did my preseason predictions a couple weeks ago for who I thought was going to represent the top 6 in the college football playoff, I got flack for not putting Alabama up there. But I feel justified in it, in the fact that we're still sitting here a week away from their opener.
Yep.
And Alabama still doesn't know what they're going to do at the most important position in sports.
Yep. So, I think it's a chance that they can lose a couple of games. I'm not ruling that out. I'm not ruling that out, and I think you're honestly right. They start off with Middle Tennessee. That should be a scrimmage game that they go against. But then you got my Longhorns, who everybody was hyped on and pretty much got winning the Big 12. Got them winning the Big 12. I got them actually winning the Big 12. But I also think it's a couple of games that we could lose. Like we do every year. We could lose games that we don't supposed to be even losing, but Texas is still going to be a good football team. That's a good football team. So that will be a first test of Miro and Simpson, them really see how good they can actually really be. That will be the first test. Then you got Ole Miss, who's not gonna be no slouch, who's got Lane Kiffin, who his offense is always going to find a way to be consistent and score. Then you got A&M. A&M might be solid this year, but you got Tennessee, LSU always find some success. A&M always gives Alabama a hard time, so it's a good chance they can lose 2 to 3 of these games this year. They can lose 2 or 3 of these games this year. Even Auburn plays them pretty tough, especially Ann Arbor. Even that game is really tough, so it's a good chance you can be right, man. They can lose by at least 3 of these games, 2 at the most. I would say 2 is the odd most, but just because the inconsistency at the quarterback position, I think 3 is much possible, but I would say 2 at the most they can lose.
Yeah. Just kind of looking at the Alabama schedule right now, not going to lie, I could see them losing 3 before they even get to Auburn.
Okay.
So,
I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad.
So because I'll go ahead and give you my top 4 how I originally had it, because I was going to save national championship prediction for the end. I'm not going to tell you who I have for that yet, but I'll tell you who I have as my final 4. It's no surprise at number 1 is Georgia.
Yep.
Even with Carson Beck, who's more of a pocket passer but has a bigger arm than Stetson Bennett, Georgia is becoming the new Alabama in that they can just reload and it doesn't affect them at all. Number 2, I have Michigan. I think that this is probably Michigan's best bet to get to the national championship and actually put up a fight since probably the late 90s. In my opinion, I feel that this team's better than the last 2. I don't see them having any issues except maybe Penn State, and that's a big maybe. And then they play Ohio State, and it's at Michigan again this season.
Yeah.
So, until I see something come out of that, I have no reason to doubt Michigan. I personally have USC running the table. I love what Caleb Williams is doing, and I don't expect that defense to be as bad as teams had it last season. I really don't. And then I actually had Texas at number 4.
I would be happy for us to make that route, to make that route. So I definitely agree with you. I got like I say, Georgia. That's the what you call that unanimous decision route right there. They're gonna run through everybody. Run through everybody. I know you may have some questions about their quarterback situation, but you know how good Georgia is gonna be. They still got that tight end, Brock Bowers, who's gonna be the best tight end, who's basically the best tight end pretty much in the country. You still have Lamb McConkey. Still is going to be there. They're going to always running back by committee. They'll always throw running back by committee at you. So their defense is going to always be good. Their front, especially with their front defensive line, they're going to, and their linebackers, they're going to always be solid. So you do got to go with Georgia. But it is a toss up. Do I have? Because really, I want to go USC. I do actually want to go USC. But the problem is, if their defense can be consistent, I think they have, with that offense being as great as it is, I think they would definitely be able to make it. But just because Utah being as good as they are too, being veteran as they are too, and they have a USC number, I think that can end up hurting them. And they can play US. It's a chance they play each other in the Pac-12 title game as well. And I think the only reason they just got to figure out how to beat Utah. I think that's just a common denominator. And like I say, I'm gonna take a surprise foe, and I'm gonna go Utah. And I think Utah will climb, and I think they will make a top 4. I just got to see USC beat Utah. I just got to see USC beat Utah, which they haven't been able to do it. And I think in the Pac-12, I think about Utah. They the only one that can match USC from score to score, and then they also can get a stop. They dominated Utah in that Pac-12 title game. They dominated, extremely dominated. So I'm gonna tell you, Utah as a surprise. You got Michigan. I think they're going to win the Big Ten. I think they're a better football team than what they were last year with Donovan Wilson coming up out of the backfield and Blake Corum. That 1-2 punch, that offensive line, that defensive line is definitely going to be good. So I got them making a college football playoff as well. And like I say, man, I wish I could go with my Longhorns. I wish I could do it, but I already know it's going to be some losses there that we don't supposed to be losing to, and I think that will end up hurting us throughout the day. So I'm to make my fourth pick. I'm gonna wait till the middle of the season to see how it goes, because I don't got a clear mind on the fourth team already. I want you to pick USC, but I just got a feeling about Utah. I just got a crazy feeling about Utah.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I think my surprise team I have at number 6, and that's LSU. Because I personally think LSU is going to win the SEC West again. I see LSU beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa on November 4th. And
I think they can do it. You think they can do it?
I mean, personally, I think LSU might only lose one game this entire season, and it very well might be that kickoff against Florida State next weekend. But after that, I mean, it's Grambling, Mississippi State. Like, I have no reason to doubt LSU in any of these other games. But Florida State, I feel like that's going to be a very
Florida State can be Florida. I like that Florida. I like that Florida State game. That game is going to be absolutely interesting to watch. That game is going to be actually interesting to watch right there.
Yeah, I think bringing the Jordan Travis in, I think he's going to be a very big factor into how well the Seminoles do. I think I actually picked Florida State to win the ACC over Clemson.
I agree.
So, I mean, I think Clemson, they've always been very stagnant in what they do, but they're very consistent. But even then, they can lose games kind of like what they did with South Carolina.
Yep.
They could absolutely show up and just crap the bed.
I like the Noles this year. I like the Noles this year, man. I absolutely like the Noles this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they be one of those teams representing the ACC in the Final Four, one of those Final Four teams. But I'm the only reason I'm not like everybody in the chat. The only reason I'm not picking. I'm not picking a fourth until the season, so I see in the middle of the season what goes on, because USC's supposed to be right there. That's a team that you look at and you say, why he ain't got them in the top 4? Because their defense is not consistent enough. It's not consistent enough, really. I still don't know. We're going to see tonight, though. We would definitely see tonight. But San Jose State, is that a really team? Is that a team you really want to see? USC, see how good USC defense. They're supposed to get stops on San Diego State. They're supposed to do that. When you go up against Utah, when you go up against Oregon, stuff like that, that's what you're gonna see the real USC. But again, I got a good chance. That first game is gonna be definitely interesting from the Florida State Seminoles. I mean, you got to go to a tough Clemson team to play a tough Clemson team, which I think they got the offense to do beat Clemson with Johnny Wilson. And I think they still got Benson and that number 9 Tuafilo there. They still got those guys there. They're going to be great on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to be they still got one of the dominant pass rushers in the game. Jared Verse, who's going to be a first round pick this coming season. So that team looks really good, man. That team look really good coming out of ACC.
They do. And cool bringing up the big point of the ACC no longer being divisional. It's just straight up the top 2 teams. But even then, it's still going to be Florida State and Clemson. I just don't see any of these other teams coming up. Obviously, Sam Hartman leaving Wake Forest, I think, is a big blow to them. Miami, they got to do something to show me that they deserve to be watched again, in my opinion. But, I mean, Virginia Tech might give Florida State issues, but really, I mean, if Florida State could get past LSU on September 3rd and then again against Clemson on September 23rd, we could be looking at Florida State wrecking the college football playoffs, sitting there 12-0, and then they go beat Clemson again. That's 13-0. I don't know if you can keep Florida State out at that point.
Yep. I definitely agree. I definitely agree up on that part right there. I definitely agree with you.
So I think a lot of teams in the top 10 last year are going to take a step backwards. I agree.
Yep.
I think last year's top 10 was a little bit of a mirage, only because of how chaotic the last season was.
Yeah.
And that's being polite about this. It's just a matter of, okay, what exactly was last season? It was a lot of chaos. I mean, let's be honest. We had Tennessee come back to number 1 for the first time since the 1990s.
Yep.
Georgia gets disrespected and put all the way down at number 3.
That was crazy.
They take it personally.
Yes.
I mean, Tulane did what Tulane did. The biggest flip in a program I've ever seen, from 2-10 to 10-2 with a conference championship and a New Year's Six bowl win. And then you have the great story that was TCU, who did everything that they could do. The only thing that they didn't do was go undefeated.
Yep.
But, I mean, even with that loss, that still wasn't enough to take them out. And then they make their run. They play a fantastic game against Michigan. But then they run into the buzzsaw that is the Georgia Bulldogs.
They play like a freshman team in high school. That was the varsity playing against the freshmen in high school on that day. But JJ McCarthy threw that game versus Michigan versus TCU. McCarthy's got to be better. He's got to be better from Michigan. He's got to be better with his decision making. He has some really terrible decision making, man. He was the reason why they lost that game versus TCU. I know their defense wasn't the best either. Their defense was not really good versus TCU. But if you avoid throwing 4 interceptions and one of them was a pick 6, McCarthy has to play. He has to be better. He's very dynamic with his legs as well. But he was the reason why they lost that game versus the USC versus TCU. He was the reason. JJ McCarthy was the reason why they lost that game. I think he was the reason why they actually lost the game.
Yeah. And I mean, going back to the point of the top 10 from last season, I mean, Georgia obviously ended number 1, TCU 2, Michigan 3, Ohio State 4, Bama 5, Tennessee 6, Penn State 7, Washington 8, Tulane 9, and Utah 10. I don't know how much, just kind of looking at that. I mean, obviously, we all expect TCU to fall off.
Yeah.
We do kind of see that coming. But Georgia's still going to be there. Michigan and Ohio State, they're going to be there. Bama might be there.
Yep.
Tennessee, they could easily still be just a 2-loss team. Penn State, same for them.
Yep.
Washington, people are high on them. Tulane,
I'm not
you gotta see it to believe it again.
Yep.
It is such a feel-good story for them, but again, gotta see it to believe it. And then, even you're high on Utah right now. So yeah. I don't know if we're really going to see a whole lot of change or turnover from last year and how the top 10 ended. Maybe a couple teams in, Tulane and TCU fall out, but I don't know if we're really going to see that much more change. Maybe Florida State and USC hop up, but that might be the only change that we see in the top 10 come the end of the season.
Yep.
So, and then TCU was a great story, but it goes to show the real difference in talent between Georgia and a school like TCU. Top schools get ridiculous amounts of money and resources for recruiting. To an extent, yes, but TCU still has that oil money. They still got that Bible money. And I mean, all credit to Sonny Dykes too. I mean, Max Duggan had to play out of his mind to keep his team afloat.
Yep.
And then I think, it just turned into, okay, who has more talent? And let's be honest, we all knew it when they stepped on the field that Georgia had more talent top to bottom. It was going to be a David versus Goliath, and this time Goliath just smacked David out the building.
Yeah. See, the only team I could have actually gave, the only team I said from the beginning when I looked at that college football play, I said, hey, don't be surprised if Ohio State can compete with Georgia. And they did. They came from they were a Noah Ruggles field goal kick away from advancing to the national title. Because the difference between the TCU and Ohio State got the talent. They got actually the talent. They had the best receiving core in the nation to compete. They had one of the best offensive lines in the country as well. Still do. And they had the running back. They had the running game. They didn't have Trey Henderson. Wasn't really. Trey Henderson had a little bit of a fallout because he had an injury. He had an injury last year, but their receiving talent was so good. That offensive line was so good. They was able to protect, give C.J. Stroud some opportunities to throw on the move. And C.J. Stroud made everything happen. He did whatever he was supposed to do in that game. He ran out of the pocket, and that's the predicament Georgia put you in. They made C.J. Stroud run out of the pocket, and he was beating him with his legs as well and throwing on the move. And Marvin Harrison was just putting Keely Ringo on the island. He was just putting him on the island. Even when Marvin Harrison Jr. got put out of the game, you had Fleming step up. You had Amuga step up, who's going to be a first-round pick this year. They had so many guys in that on that team that's so very well talented. That was the only team that could really actually compete with Georgia. But at the end of the day, it came down to a Noah Ruggles missed field goal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's stay with Ohio State here for a sec here because, I mean, their schedule seems pretty favorable for them as well. I mean, they open the season with Indiana next Saturday, and then it's Youngstown State, okay. Western Kentucky, okay. And then, we mentioned it earlier when we were talking about Notre Dame, that game on September 23rd. I feel like September 23rd is a very big day in college football and how these rankings are going to shake out. Yep. And it's not even going to be the month 2 yet because, I mean, we're going to have Clemson, Florida State. We're going to have Ohio State, Notre Dame. I think that's going to be a big game. But then, it's Maryland. Okay. There is one trap game in here that's not Penn State and Michigan, though, because for some stupid reason, Ohio State cannot do well at Purdue.
Yeah.
They just can't.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it.
Purdue when you have to go to Purdue, that becomes that destination for everybody that everybody struggles in. I remember Penn State went in now and had a little bit of a struggle last year with Aiden O'Connell. So when you have to go to Purdue, and remember what Purdue did 2 years ago? They was the upset kings of football until they ran into Ohio State at Ohio State pretty much, and Ohio State calmed them down because every year like that year they were running into they were upset after upset after upset till they ran into Ohio State, and Ohio State cooled them off a little bit. But hey, that could be a trap game right there. That could turn out to be a one of those games for they coming from Ohio State when they're on fire. That could be one of the wake up games right there. Hey, wake up, come out to play. Hey, wake up. This could be one of these wake up call games right here going to Purdue.
Yeah. And then after that, they come right back home and then they get Penn State. I mean, we all know that game's going to be big. And then I feel like Wisconsin doesn't get talked about enough. But Luke Fickell moving up from Cincinnati, and what he was able to do with Cincinnati a couple of years ago was nothing short of spectacular itself. But now he's going to get a shot with the Big Ten team in Wisconsin. They're ranked number 19. So Ohio State's got to go to Camp Randall. And then Rutgers, Michigan State, Minnesota. And then we all know that Ohio State's got that big game to end the year at Michigan. So, yep. I mean, Ohio State at number 3, very well deserved. The more I think about this, I don't know if Ohio State's going to be there at the end.
Yep.
I really don't.
The only I got a question about Ohio State. I don't know how good the quarterback is. That's the problem. I don't know how good the quarterback is with these, but with these receivers right here, you should be able to get the ball to Muga and Fleming them in the tight end, and Marvin Harrison Jr., the best receiver in the country. You should be able to. Your job is easy. Get them the football. Get the ball in your playmaker's hand. That's the easiest job you could have with these receivers. Now, if he can't do that, that tells you how bad the quarterback actually is right there. But again, Ohio State, it is a question. I don't know how. I got to see how good the quarterback is. I got to actually see how good the quarterback is for me to determine Ohio State. I got to see how good the quarterback is going to be.
Yeah. And right now, it's still a battle between Kyle McCord and the sophomore Devin Brown.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see. Question from Beantown Breakdown. Appreciate you. You've kind of been in the chat most of the day today here. Who is your dark horse team this year? So I'll start with mine. I don't know if they'll necessarily crack the top 4, but I could see them cracking the top 25 and staying in it pretty consistently. Going to go to the Big 12. I'm looking at Texas Tech. I am really liking what the Red Raiders are doing this season. I think that they have a pretty favorable schedule as well. I think their only hiccup may very well be playing against Texas and maybe a hiccup against Oklahoma, depending on, if Brett Venables actually got that team to turn around. Texas Tech, it feels like their offense is there. It's just a matter of can the defense turn it around. It's almost the same question as we have with a bunch of other teams.
Yeah.
Can the defense stop enough? But I could actually see Texas Tech maybe cracking 10 wins this season.
Gotcha.
I would have them as my dark horse team. Again, potentially top 25. I don't see them making the college football playoff. I think a lot would have to fall their way. But again, 10 wins for Texas Tech, I could definitely see it.
My dark horse team, I already talked about them. Like they starting at 14, and I think they will move 10 spots up to get to the playoffs. It's Utah. I think this is the team that will. I'm gonna say this. This is the team I got beating USC, knocking off USC until USC find a way to beat them, find a way to end up beating USC. They got some. They got Brendan Rice returning back as a receiver. They still got their running backs coming back, but also you look at Utah. Cam Rising is back. Vele is back, his best wide receiver. They still got that tight end, Kofi. They still got him there. Tavier Thomas, Jaquinton Jackson is still there. That defense is still going to be very, very solid. Their corner, they got a lot of depth in their cornerback situation, in their cornerbacks, even though Clark Phillips to the NFL. This is the team that USC has to beat. USC hasn't been able to beat these guys. They lost 2. This was the team that beat them last year twice. They stopped them from getting to the Big Dance. So until they figure out how to beat, Utah, I got Utah. I think I got Utah as a dark horse going into the Final Four. Final Four. I haven't picked my fourth. The only 3 I got so far is Georgia, Michigan, and Utah. That's the only 3 I got. I'm questionable on the 4th. It's supposed to be USC. Ohio State. One of those teams is supposed to be. Florida State has a good chance of sneaking up and down if they can go undefeated.
Throw in your homer pick. Throw in your Texas Longhorns.
Nah, I ain't gonna do that.
Come on, have faith.
I ain't gonna trust them. I can't. I always just gotta see. Look, every time I have a chance to do that, they let me down. Like when they supposed to did that last year, they lost to Texas Tech, the game they actually didn't supposed to even lose. That's what I'm talking about. That they blew a lead to they was up 21-0 on Oklahoma State, and they lost that game. Lost that game. Those are the type of losses that gets me right there from Texas. They lose with games that they're not even supposed to even lose. There's gonna be that I'm going on the same speculation every single year, man. That they're gonna lose games. They're gonna lose a couple of games that they don't supposed to even be losing. They don't supposed to even be losing. Now, if they can prove that to me this year, I'll be happy as Longhorn. I'll be the happiest ever because again, we haven't made it to the national title game since Colt McCoy got hurt. That was the year that we played Alabama. That was the last time we ever made to the national championship game. Then I have to deal with Gary Gilbert coming in the game, who held his own but wasn't good enough. But Colt McCoy was everything to us.
Yeah. And the reason that I bring up Texas Tech, and I'm just kind of looking at their schedule, they open with Wyoming, okay, and then they have Oregon. That's probably going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Then they have a team named Tarleton State.
Scrimmage. Yep.
Should be. and then the boat race of the Pac-12. West Virginia, Houston, Baylor, K-State, BYU, TCU, Kansas, UCF, Texas. It almost feels like Texas Tech can win 9 of those games.
Yep.
Realistically, I mean, it's going to be an offensive shootout, but what else is the Big 12 known for? Offense and no defense.
No defense, yep. It's always been like that. It's always been like that in the Big 12.
Yep. But, again, they avoid Oklahoma entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost feels like – I feel like they only leave the state of Texas 3 times. No, 4. 4 times the entire season. When they go to Wyoming, they go to West Virginia, they go to BYU, and then they go to Kansas. Every other game is somewhere in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Whether it's home or away. So, I don't know. I might be reading too much into that, but I think that they've got an interesting shot at it this season as well. But I know we're coming down. We've got about 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
So, and I post this at the bottom of our rundown here. And I'll throw it to you, and I'm pretty sure Bo, Beantown, Key, if you guys are still in here, throw in your opinions too. I'm going to put you on the spot. You got to pick your Heisman right now. Who are you picking? And This is the pick that you got to stick with through the entire season.
Oh, yeah. I got you.
So, is it Caleb Williams or is somebody else going to win it?
I'm gonna shock you. I'm gonna shock you when I say this.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Marvin Harrison Jr.
Really?
I'm gonna go Marvin Harrison Jr. I know the actual pick is Caleb Williams. Everybody has Caleb Williams. That's the right. If you had to make a consensus, that's the right pick. But I wanted to go with someone else different. I'm going with the best receiver in football. I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr. to win the Heisman this year.
Okay. The only hesitancy that I have is, we mentioned it when we were talking about Ohio State earlier. It's the quarterback.
Yes.
It's going to be who is it going to be? But I can respect that you picked Marvin Harrison Jr. because of the talent that he is, talent that he will be. I mean, everybody was saying if he came out in the draft this year, he would have been a top 5 pick.
Yep. Oh, easy. That ain't even a question.
I mean, shoot, if you were the Colts at 4 and you had Marvin Harrison Jr. or Anthony Richardson, you almost would have picked Marvin Harrison Jr.
I'm taking a better talent. I'm taking a better player. I'm taking Marvin Harrison. They ain't even the hesitation.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's still mind-blowing to me that if Caleb Williams does decide to leave for the NFL, which I think a lot of people are expecting because of how good of a talent he is, but people forget that he's only a junior. He does have an option to stay. And, say if he doesn't want to go play for Arizona, he could officially say, I'm staying one more season and just completely screw everybody else.
Yeah.
He could absolutely do it. But, and Beantown put it best, the numbers that Caleb Williams is going to put up, it almost feels unfair for the rest of college football. I would say if it's not Caleb Williams and it has to be a quarterback, I think Drake May out of North Carolina may have something to say about it. Because they are the only 2 quarterbacks last season to have a 35 or more passing touchdowns and 10 or less interceptions thrown.
Yeah.
At the FBS level. Now, if we're including FBS2 or FCS, then Shedeur Sanders would join in that party as well. But again, first season with Colorado, I can't see him pulling a Heisman out of his butt yet. Give it a couple years, and hey, things are going to look great in the black and gold. But until then, I think Drake May probably has one of the better shots to stop Caleb Williams on his quest for back-to-back Heismans. I think North Carolina's offense with Mac Brown, your former coach down there in Austin, I think, I think this is probably the best team that Mac Brown's going to have since the Vince Young days.
Yep. If I had to go with a quarterback, I still wouldn't pick Caleb Williams because that's the easier pick. And I want to be different from everybody else. So if I had to go with a quarterback, and we just talked about him earlier, I'm going to go with Jordan Travis, who's going to run the ACC, if they can be great and be undefeated in the ACC and win the ACC conference, Jordan Travis has to be great. He has to be great. With Johnny Wilson as a 6'7" target, that big old target that you cannot miss, you still have another capable receiver over there. You have both of your running backs back. So I would have to go with Jordan Travis if it's a quarterback. If I had to go a quarterback route, just because like I say, he's gonna Caleb Williams gonna put up probably video game numbers. He's gonna actually put up video game numbers. So other than that, I just wanted to go with someone else and get someone else someone else that I know their team is going to be really good. They're going to put that team in the right situation to succeed. So my pick was Marvin Harrison, and if it's a quarterback, Jordan Travis. I'm going to go with Jordan Travis because I'm expecting, like we both said, they can run through the ACC. The tougher matchup is Clemson. Basically, Clemson is the tougher matchup, I believe, for them. If they can get past that and beat them twice, and he's great throughout the whole season, I think he has an outside shot of sneaking in that window.
Yeah. And I would say, just to throw out another name, Jaden Daniels out of LSU. The Arizona State transfer, what he was able to do this last season, I would say probably, especially that game against Alabama, I think opened a lot of eyes to the Jaden Daniels experience, and he's only going to get better with time. So, but we do have a quick question here. Guys, college football is not really a focal point up here in New England, but what do you think of my Boston College Eagles? Well, I will say that I personally did not expect to be talking about Boston College today, but I mean, we could talk about them. I think that Boston College, I feel as though they are a team that a lot of people underestimate, is what I think. I also know that these last couple seasons haven't been the greatest for the team up there at Chestnut Hill. But, just kind of looking at their schedule, I would not be surprised to see them maybe get to 500 this season, in my personal opinion. I mean, you're opening with Northern Illinois. You should be able to win that one. Holy Cross, you should be able to win that one. Then Florida State comes to town. I'm sorry, I'm not going to give Boston College that game. Unless some miracle happens. I think
they gotta be injury rattled. They gotta be beat up for you to win that game.
Mm-hmm. And then you have Louisville, which
you can win that game. I believe they can win. They win.
Virginia,
they can win that. Possibly.
Army, I think, could cause an issue. Again, the triple threat, it's weird for everybody.
Yeah.
It always is. And then talk about the triple option. Georgia Tech's next for them. So, I think if you could come away with one of those, I think you'll be okay. Definitely have faith that Boston College could beat UConn.
Yeah, they can win that game. They definitely can win.
And then Syracuse, I don't know about that one.
I think that's I think that's 50-50. That's 50-50.
Yeah, and then Virginia Tech, who, to be fair, they haven't been the best either.
Yeah.
So, and then Pitt, and then Miami. So, I mean, it feels like Boston College has a legitimate shot to get to 500. I think that's where I would comfortably say I would put Boston College right around the 5-7, 6-6. Surprised a couple teams, 7-5 season.
Yep.
That's where I have them. So, but he even admits that team chemistry has struggled the last 4 seasons, and he's got the Eagles going 6-6. So that feels about right.
It's reasonable. It's about right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a lot of 50-50 games in there, though, too. It is a lot of 50-50 games in there.
There are. So, I mean, say a couple of those 50-50 games go Boston College's way, 8-4, you absolutely take that season this year.
Yep.
You take that. So, and then we got Mitch Kofsky saying, "What's up?" So, always appreciate everybody hopping in the chat here as we're starting to wind down here. We got about 10 minutes to go. So, I want to touch on some of these other games that are happening today. And yes, I realize that none of them are ranked teams, but I would feel bad if we didn't talk about them because, they're still valid teams. So, I mean, definitely not the game that I was expecting to be watching at 3:30 in the afternoon here Mountain Time or 5:30 Eastern, but it's UTEP and Jacksonville State. And for those Florida State fans, you don't want to talk about Jacksonville State and how they beat Cassie. But UTEP favored by 1.5 feels about right.
Yep.
So I like that. On FS1 at 7 p.m., we've got Ohio traveling to San Diego State. I think San Diego State's going to be a lot better than a lot of teams expect. I know they tried to leave the Mountain West to go to the Pac-12, but they saw what happened in the Pac-12 and said, forget that, I'm going back home. But San Diego State, I'm comfortable saying that they're going to cover the 2 points.
Yeah, I'm taking San Diego State.
So, and then on ESPN at 7 p.m. Eastern, I never thought in all my wildest dreams, and I've been following college football for well over a decade now. I still play NCAA 14. I'm actually probably going to load it up once we get off here. But there's 2 teams that are always towards the bottom, and yet they're on ESPN tonight. UMass and New Mexico State.
I would rather put USC and San Jose State on ESPN tonight.
I agree, but they're on the Pac-12 network.
I don't know why they should have been on ESPN tonight, but you put 2 teams at the bottom.
Hey, honestly, give them their airtime. It's week 0. If you're going to give them the airtime, give it to them now. But New Mexico State is favored by 7. Sure, I'll give it to you. I'll be honest, I don't really follow either team, but UMass finally got their first win in like 19 games last season.
Well, I won't be picking UMass tonight.
Yeah, can't really put money on that. And then 7:30 Eastern, SEC Network. Hawaii travels to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt. And I don't know if you have seen the pictures of Vanderbilt Stadium still under construction. And they're supposed to be playing there tonight. I don't know how they're going to make that work. I've heard rumors that they're going to move that game to Nissan Stadium because the stadium is actually complete. Because on the other side of the end zone, if you run out of the end zone, you're officially in a construction zone with cranes, nails, and all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what Vanderbilt's doing. It feels like they should have done that a lot sooner. Vanderbilt favored by 17.5.
Hey,
are you biting on that?
Oh yeah, I'm on that. Did you saw the beatdown they actually put up when they went to Hawaii last year? They put it. You know what? I had to sit up there and do that game. I'm like, why did I bother by even doing this? Vanderbilt straight. Hawaii wasn't supposed to even be on the same field with those guys last year. But this year may be a different year, but you still got Mike Wright Jr. there. Still got pretty much the same team, so why would I think something would go different? Especially it's going to be at a neutral site where they play, where they know very well at. Why would I pick something actually different? They weren't supposed to be on the same field with them guys. It was clear they weren't supposed to be on the same field with them guys last year.
Almost the same as Georgia TCU at some point.
Yeah. That was like a freshman game. That was like freshman going against the varsity.
Yep. And then, like we mentioned earlier, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Pac-12 network, which I don't know if everybody gets it, but that's where you're going to catch AC and his San Jose State Spartans against the Heisman winning number 6 USC Trojans, and then your nightcap CBS Sports Network 9 p.m. Eastern. Florida International travels to Louisiana Tech, and Louisiana Tech favored by 12. So, again, a small slate for college football week 0, but it's still enough of a slate to say college football is back. Yeah. You might actually catch me watching UTEP Jacksonville State. I never thought I'd say that in my lifetime.
I know for sure I may be catching I'm gonna definitely catch Vandy and Vandy in Hawaii tonight.
Yep, SEC Network,
Yeah.
Because Lord knows you can't put that one on ESPN either. But but again, UMass New Mexico State. I mean, hey, kudos to those guys for finally getting the airtime.
Yep.
I honestly hope it's a good game.
Yeah.
Show the world what's up. This might be the only time that both those teams get that airtime for quite some time. Show out. Show the world what you got. So, but we all know that college football really starts next week. September 2nd. I mean, some of those games, obviously we'll get into it when the time's right next week, but there's going to be a couple of very big games next weekend. I still think none bigger than LSU Florida State, number 5 versus number 8. But other than that, I really don't have anything for this week.
The party starts next week, pretty much. The party starts next week. Believe on Thursday is Florida and we got Florida and Utah, right? On Thursday.
Yep, Florida, Utah.
That where it actually starts at, y'all. That where actually college football actually started. But like I say, like Ian said, week 0 is college football is still here. NFL preseason, is kicking up to high gear. They're on the last week of it before we start the NFL season, get these cuts out of the way. But you ought to be happy, man. College football is really back tonight. You're definitely going to enjoy it. But then what a kickoff the way Thursday with Florida and Utah. You ought to Florida and Utah. That will be a hell of a week that next week.
Absolutely. And the great part about it, we'll be able to recap it next Saturday. 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Sports Wave Network. Just want to give, obviously, Coach, appreciate you coming on. AC, I appreciate him coming on. Appreciate everybody coming into the chat, leaving your likes, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Again, we're just starting something big here on the Sports Wave Network. But this has been the Saturday Football Showdown, presented by the Sports Wave Network. We will be back next week with week 1 and a little bit of a recap. We might see Utah be 0-1. Might be a little bit too bold to say that, but we'll recap all the week 0 games and get into some of the week 1 games. But we will see everybody next Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern. Have a good weekend and enjoy college football, everybody.
Appreciate y'all.